Welcome to an extraordinary journey into the fascinating world of rare coin collecting, where history, artistry, and human error sometimes combine to create treasures worth millions. And today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising examples of this phenomenon, the 1977 United States 1-cent coin, a humble Lincoln penny that under normal circumstances would be worth exactly 1 cent. Yet due to a combination of unique factors, rare errors, minting mistakes, and collector demand, has been valued at an astonishing $8 million, a figure so incredible that it makes coin collectors and casual observers alike stop in their tracks and wonder how such a small, everyday object could command such a staggering price. And in this video we will not just talk about the coin's value but immerse ourselves in the intricate details, the specific types of errors that could justify such a valuation, the historical and minting context that makes the 1977 penny special, the possibilities of how these errors occurred, the ways collectors determine rarity, and the broader numismatic market forces that turn copper and zinc into gold mines for those lucky enough to possess these rarities. And to understand the 1977 1-cent coin, we first have to recall the broader history of the Lincoln penny, first issued in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and how over decades it has gone through subtle changes in composition, design, and minting techniques, with 1977 being part of the era when pennies were still primarily copper, composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that would later change in 1982 to a predominantly zinc core with copper plating due to rising copper prices. So this already places the 1977 penny in a pre-zinc transitional era where copper content itself can make a coin worth slightly more than face value for bulk scrap, but that alone is nowhere near the millions we are talking about here, so the astronomical price must come from something far rarer and more fascinating, and that's where mint errors come into play. Because the U.S. Mint, despite its precision and quality control, is still run by humans and machines that can make mistakes, and when these mistakes occur in ways that are visible, unique, and extremely rare, they can turn ordinary coins into numismatic jackpots, with examples including double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, broad strikes, die caps, multiple strikes, wrong metal composition, or dramatic die cracks and cuds. And for the 1977 penny in question, collectors speculate it could be the result of a highly dramatic and obvious double die obverse, where the details on Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 1977, are sharply doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, creating a dramatic and unmistakable effect that any collector would recognize instantly. And in the rarest cases this doubling is not subtle but bold, visible even to the naked eye, giving the coin an almost three-dimensional shadow effect that drives collectors wild. And another possible contributing factor to its astronomical value could be an off-metal strike, where instead of being struck on the usual copper planchet, the coin was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin, resulting in a piece that has both the wrong size or weight and a unique historical context. And given that the minting facilities in the 1970s were producing coins for both domestic and foreign governments, the possibility exists that a 1977 penny could have been struck on an unusual planchet, creating a one-of-a-kind rarity. And another high-value error type that might be at play is the broad strike or multiple strike error, where the coin is struck more than once or without the collar in place, causing the design to spread out in unusual ways. And if such an error combines with something like a double die, the rarity and desirability skyrocket. And then there are wrong date mule errors, where obverse and reverse dies from different years or denominations are mistakenly paired together, producing a coin that technically should never exist. And if somehow a mule pairing involving 1977 occurred, the value could soar. And then there is the possibility of a transitional error. Though 1977 itself was not a major transition year in composition, there could still have been leftover planchets from previous years or experimental strikes that slipped through quality control. And when we think about the market side of things, a single coin like this reaching $8 million is not purely about the error itself but also about its story, provenance, and the competitive nature of elite collectors who will pay astronomical prices to own something no one else can have. And when such a coin surfaces in a major auction, the publicity, rarity, and collector frenzy can push bidding to record-breaking levels, with wealthy individuals often driving the price far beyond what most people could imagine for a penny. And beyond the errors, the 1977 date itself has a certain nostalgic appeal, coming from the era of classic American cars, disco, and cultural shifts, meaning collectors from that generation may feel a deep personal connection to coins from that year. And nostalgia combined with rarity is a powerful cocktail in the collectibles market, and when the coin's condition is taken into account, with factors like being in mint state, perhaps even graded MS 67 or higher by a reputable grading service such as PCGS or NGC, the value can multiply exponentially, because top-grade specimens of rare era coins are far more valuable than those showing wear. And if this $8 million 1977 penny is also in pristine uncirculated condition, its combination of rarity, error type, and condition would make it a once-in-a-lifetime find, and stories of such coins often involve lucky individuals discovering them in pocket change, coin rolls, or inherited collections, where a casual glance might have dismissed it as just another penny, only for a closer inspection by an expert to reveal its mind-blowing uniqueness and value. And while most 1977 pennies you'll encounter will be worth exactly 1 cent, knowing the possibilities of what could be out there adds an element of treasure hunting excitement to everyday life, because in the world of coin collecting, knowledge is the key that turns ordinary into extraordinary, and that's why collectors meticulously examine each coin's strike, alignment, weight, diameter, and even sound when dropped on a hard surface, looking for those subtle clues of something unusual. And with the 1977 penny, an $8 million valuation is not just about the physical coin but the confluence of historical minting practices, human and mechanical fallibility, collector psychology, and market forces that together create a perfect storm of desirability. So whether it's a bold double die, a spectacular off-center strike, a wrong planchet, or a once-in-a-century mule pairing, the idea that a single penny could be worth enough to buy a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, or secure financial freedom for life is a testament to the endless surprises history still holds in our pockets and drawers. And as we explore the countless varieties of mint errors and their market impact, it's easy to see why numismatics is a passion that blends art, history, economics, and mystery, drawing people into a never-ending search for that one special coin, because at the end of the day, a rare coin like the 1977 $8 million penny is more than just metal. It's a tangible piece of history, a story frozen in copper that connects us to the moment it was struck, the hands it passed through, and the incredible journey from a minting anomaly to a legendary treasure known and desired around the world. And it serves as an inspiring reminder that sometimes the most ordinary objects, overlooked by millions, can hold the most extraordinary secrets, waiting for the right eyes to see them and the right moment to reveal their worth. Next, we dive into an extraordinary journey into the fascinating world of coin collecting, rare mint errors, and the captivating story of how something as small and seemingly ordinary as a 2018 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin could be worth a staggering $240,000, because behind this unassuming little copper-plated zinc coin lies a tale of rarity, mistakes, history, and opportunity that turns everyday pocket change into a treasure hunt. And today we are going to unravel every detail, every possibility, and every nuance that can transform this 1-cent coin into a collector's dream, starting from the moment it was struck at the Denver Mint in 2018, where millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies were produced, all bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse. But among those countless coins, a handful emerged that were anything but ordinary, coins that slipped through the rigorous quality control systems due to subtle and sometimes dramatic minting errors, the kind of errors that, instead of making the coin less valuable, send its worth soaring into the stratosphere. Because for serious numismatists and passionate collectors, errors are like rare fingerprints of the minting process, each one telling a unique story. And in the case of the 2018 D penny, some of these errors have been so dramatic, so visually striking, and so rare that they have commanded prices that defy logic compared to their humble face value. So let's walk through the various types of mint errors that could possibly account for such an astronomical valuation and understand how they happen, why they matter, and how you might even identify one yourself, starting with the double die errors, which are some of the most famous and sought-after mistakes in the coin collecting world, where the design on the coin's die shifts slightly between strikes, causing a noticeable doubling of letters, numbers, or design features. And for the 2018 D penny, there have been reports of double dies on the obverse where Lincoln's profile shows subtle shadow-like outlines, or where the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date, 2018, appear doubled, a telltale sign that the die used to strike the coin was not perfectly aligned during preparation. And when these doubling effects are crisp and clear, collectors can pay astonishing sums because such coins stand out dramatically from the millions of perfect strikes. Then we have off-center strikes, another dramatic and instantly visible type of error, where the coin is not seated properly in the press when struck, causing the design to be shifted away from center, sometimes so much so that parts of the design are missing entirely. and the more off-center the strike, while still keeping the date visible, the more valuable the coin tends to be. So a 2018 D penny with a 50% or more off-center strike could easily be a top prize for an era collector. Then there are broad strikes, where a coin is struck without the retaining collar that keeps it to the correct diameter, causing the coin to spread out and take on an unusually wide shape, and while less dramatic than some other errors, they still fetch strong prices when paired with the relatively modern date of 2018. Then let's talk about die cracks and die breaks, where the hardened steel die used to strike the coin develops tiny cracks from the immense pressure of repeated strikes, leaving raised lines or even larger cuds of extra metal on the finished coins. And with modern coins like the 2018 D penny, large cuds or dramatic cracks are especially popular because they are relatively uncommon due to modern quality controls, making them highly collectible. Next we have wrong planchet errors, which are among the most valuable of all, occurring when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. So imagine finding a 2018 D penny struck on a dime planchet, making it smaller, lighter, and silver-colored instead of coppery red, or even more bizarre, one struck on a planchet meant for a nickel or other denomination, and the rarity of such pieces sends their values soaring into tens or hundreds of thousands. Then there's the possibility of transitional errors, where a coin is struck on metal that was no longer standard for that year, such as an unintentional use of a leftover planchet from a previous composition, and for pennies that could mean being struck on the pre-1982 bronze alloy instead of the copper-plated zinc that's standard today, making them heavier and more appealing to collectors who prize composition anomalies. Another category is the multiple strike error, where the coin is struck more than once, sometimes with rotations between strikes, creating a surreal, jumbled image that looks like a deliberate piece of abstract art. And the more dramatic the multiple strikes, the more collectors are willing to pay, especially when the date and mint mark remain visible. Then we have clipped planchet errors, where part of the blank metal disc is missing before striking, resulting in a coin with a curved or straight clip missing from the edge. And when combined with other errors like off-center strikes or doubling, such coins can become truly unique. It's also important to consider the role of mint marks in error value, as the D on the 2018 D penny stands for Denver, and certain years from certain mints produce more errors than others, sometimes because of high production volumes pushing machinery to its limits. And in 2018 the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies, which means even a tiny fraction of errors could still result in a few incredibly rare and valuable coins escaping into circulation. Beyond minting errors, condition plays a huge role in value, with coins in uncirculated or mint state grades fetching far more than worn examples. And when a rare error combines with a high grade, say MS68 or MS69 red certified by PCGS or NGC, the value can skyrocket because collectors are not just chasing rarity, they're chasing rarity in perfection. Now picture this, a 2018 D penny with a dramatic double die on the obverse, struck off-center by 30%, with a large die crack across Lincoln's head, still gleaming in brilliant red mint state condition. Such a combination of errors and pristine preservation could very well command a price tag in the hundreds of thousands, and when such coins hit the auction block, bidding wars between serious collectors can drive prices higher than most people would believe for a penny. But that's the beauty of numismatics. Value is not just about metal content, it's about history, uniqueness, and desirability. Every tiny imperfection telling the story of how the coin slipped through the mint's defenses and made its way into the world, turning from an everyday object into a numismatic treasure. And this is why stories of rare finds in pocket change make headlines, inspiring people everywhere to check their coins, because the next extraordinary error could be sitting unnoticed in a jar on the kitchen counter. The journey of a coin from ordinary to legendary is a perfect blend of chance, mechanical mishap, and human fascination. And for the 2018 D penny, the combination of potential errors, rarity, and condition is what transforms it into a coin worth as much as a luxury home. So if you're ever lucky enough to spot something unusual on a modern penny, be it doubling, off center strikes, missing details, or strange shapes, don't dismiss it, because you might just be holding one of the rarest treasures of the modern minting era. And that's why today's deep dive into the 2018 D Lincoln penny reminds us that in the world of coins, small details make a huge difference, a difference that can turn 1 cent into $240,000, and all it takes is a sharp eye, a little knowledge, and a bit of luck to turn loose change into life-changing value, proving once again that the thrill of coin collecting is as much about the hunt as it is about the prize. And with every discovery, we write a new chapter in the ongoing story of money, history, and human curiosity. So keep looking, keep learning, and keep believing that the next great find might just be waiting for you in the most unexpected place. Last. Today we're about to uncover one of the most intriguing examples in modern numismatics, a coin that at first glance looks like any other humble penny you might find in your pocket change, yet hides a truth so extraordinary that it can fetch up to $1.9 million in the right circumstances. I'm talking about the 1995 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, struck at the Denver Mint, a coin that, thanks to its rare and spectacular errors and mistakes, has become the stuff of legends among collectors and treasure hunters. And as we dive into this topic, we'll explore in meticulous detail what makes such a coin so incredibly valuable, examining the fascinating minting errors that can occur, why they happen, how to identify them, and the specific possibilities that could transform a simple 1-cent coin into a fortune, because understanding these errors is not just about knowing what to look for, it's about appreciating the blend of mechanical precision and human oversight involved in the minting process, and how the occasional slip can create something truly unique. So let's begin at the Denver Mint in 1995, a year when billions of pennies were produced, all bearing the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, with the familiar D mint mark just beneath the date indicating their Denver origin. Most of these coins were struck perfectly, adhering to the high-quality standards of the United States Mint, but among them, a very small handful slipped through the cracks, literally and figuratively, carrying striking errors that not only distinguish them from the rest but also elevate their value to staggering levels. One of the most famous and desirable types of errors for this year is the doubled die, where the coin's design elements, such as the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile, appear doubled because the die used to strike the coin was misaligned during its preparation. In some rare 1995 D pennies, this doubling is dramatic and visible even without magnification, particularly on inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, and when such a doubling is bold and well-defined, it can command prices well into six figures or more, especially when paired with an uncirculated, mint-state condition. Then there's the off-center strike, another visually striking error where the coin is not properly seated in the press during striking, causing the design to be shifted to one side, with a blank crescent of metal on the other. The degree of off-center strike dramatically affects value, with coins showing 50% or more misalignment while still retaining a visible date and mint mark being especially valuable. A 1995 D penny with such a bold off-center strike in pristine condition could easily be one of the $1 million-plus rarities. Another error to watch for is the broad strike, which occurs when the coin is struck without the retaining collar that keeps it to the correct diameter, causing the metal to spread outward and giving the coin a larger, thinner appearance. While this error alone might not yield seven figures, combined with other dramatic features it becomes part of a one-of-a-kind piece that can command astronomical prices. Then we have wrong planchet errors, which are among the most spectacular and valuable, occurring when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. Imagine finding a 1995 D penny struck on a dime planchet, resulting in a smaller, silver-colored coin instead of the expected coppery red tone, or one struck on a nickel planchet, making it thicker and heavier. These anomalies are highly prized because they combine rarity with instant visual appeal, and such wrong planchet errors can send the value of a coin soaring into the hundreds of thousands, especially when tied to a popular year like 1995. Then there are transitional errors, where a coin is struck using a composition no longer standard for that year. For example, if a 1995 D penny were somehow struck on a bronze planchet leftover from pre-1982 production, it would weigh more than the modern copper-plated zinc standard, and while such a mistake would be extraordinarily rare, the numismatic market would respond with intense demand and jaw-dropping prices. Another category to consider is multiple strikes, where the coin is struck more than once, sometimes with a rotation between strikes, creating an overlapping, surreal effect that looks like a deliberate artistic experiment. The more dramatic the multiple strikes, the more collectors are willing to pay, particularly if the date and mint mark remain visible. Clip planchet errors also make the list, occurring when a portion of the metal blank is missing before striking, resulting in a coin with a curved or straight bite taken out of it. And when this kind of error is clean, obvious, and combined with other errors such as doubling or off-center strikes, the uniqueness factor multiplies, increasing desirability. Die cracks and die breaks are also worth noting, as these occur when the die used to strike the coins develops cracks from repeated high-pressure use, leaving raised lines or even larger blobs of extra metal, known as cuds, on the finished coins. And while small cracks are relatively common, large, dramatic ones are rare, especially on modern coins. and can add significant value in the context of the 1995 D penny. A massive cut across Lincoln's head or the reverse's Lincoln Memorial would make for an impressive and highly desirable specimen. We also have to remember that condition is everything in the world of rare coins, and while an era coin in circulated condition will still be valuable, the highest prices are reserved for those graded at the upper levels of the scale, such as MS68 or MS69, read by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC. A rare and dramatic era combined with near-perfect preservation is a recipe for auction fireworks, as collectors compete fiercely for the chance to own such a piece. Picture a hypothetical 1995 D penny with a bold double-die obverse, a 40% off-center strike, struck on a bronze planchet, and graded MS69 red. Such a coin could easily push into the $1.9 million territory, not just because of its errors, but because it would be the only known example of such a combination. And in numismatics, uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value. The Denver Mint's production processes in 1995, like any industrial operation, were not immune to occasional mishaps, and with billions of coins produced, even the most rigorous quality controls could miss a few spectacular outliers. Once these coins entered circulation, they became part of a great national treasure hunt, with sharp-eyed collectors, dealers, and everyday people hoping to spot something unusual in their change, and stories abound of extraordinary finds, from coins plucked from bank rolls to rarity spotted in pocket change, reinforcing the idea that valuable treasures can be hiding in plain sight. The beauty of the 1995 D penny story lies in this blend of mechanical accident, human oversight, and sheer luck, because for every one that makes it into a collector's hands, countless others may still be out there, waiting to be discovered, and that's what keeps the hunt alive. Beyond the thrill of potential profit, there's the deeper satisfaction of connecting to history through an object that's passed through countless hands, yet remains utterly unique, its value not just measured in dollars, but in the story it tells, a story of how a 1-cent coin could become worth $1.9 million, and as we've seen, that transformation hinges on the presence of remarkable mint errors, be they double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, broad strikes, multiple strikes, die cracks, or clip planchets, combined with rarity, condition, and collector demand. So the next time you're handed change at the store or crack open a roll of pennies from the bank, take a closer look, because you might just spot a small detail that transforms your find from ordinary pocket change into an extraordinary fortune. And remember, the 1995 D penny stands as a perfect reminder that in the world of numismatics, every coin has a story, and sometimes, that story is worth millions. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a penny to change your life.